Our role is to champion the conservation of the natural, historic, and cultural resources of our tremendous local asset, this wonderful national park, and to engage current and future generations in preserving and promoting the stories of our national treasures. And the stories of Moccasin Bend are truly timeless. They go back millennia to a time when the first peoples inhabited Chattanooga's ridges and valleys, up through contact with the Spanish, and eventually making this land their home. Pivotal events took place around Moccasin Bend that changed the course of the war between the states. The stories are complex and layered, like the sandstone cliffs of the Cumberland Plateau that surround us. This story continues to be written, and we are making history here today with the launch of our Forever Moccasin Bend campaign. So thank you all for joining us on this exciting day. I would like to take a moment to recognize our elected officials in attendance. Congressman Chuck Fleischman of Tennessee's 3rd District. Carrie Hayes representing Mayor Andy Burke in the city of Chattanooga. And David, did he make it? David Sharp was planning to attend. He is our District 6 Commissioner, where Moccasin Bend is located, from the Hamilton County. I also want to thank my board of directors, many of whom carried forward their service from the Friends of Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park and the Friends of Moccasin Bend when the two organizations combined to create National Park Partners. Board members in attendance, will you give a little wave, and thank you so much for your continuing support. Forever Moccasin Bend is the next chapter of a long-standing public-private partnership that is Chattanooga's hallmark and the key to implementing the 21st Century Waterfront Plan that was passed in 2002. That plan contains a section titled Manufacturers Road West that calls for extending the Riverwalk to Moccasin Bend and establishing a Moccasin Bend National Park Interpretive Center in anticipation of the Bend receiving National Park status in 2003. A few years later, the City of Chattanooga Resolution 25156, passed in 2007, authorized the adoption of the North Shore Plan, and in that resolution, there's a statement that Moccasin Bend will become a major visitor destination as a National Archaeological District. Indeed, the anticipation of up to 250,000 new annual visitors, in addition to the 1 million visitors who've come to Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park each year, helps secure economic development funds from the City of Chattanooga and grants from the Benwood Foundation, Lyndhurst Foundation, and Tucker Foundation in developing the plans we are announcing today to open the gateway to Moccasin Bend and create the welcoming entrance the most iconic feature of our Chattanooga landscape deserves, befitting the country's only National Archaeological District. I want to thank the City of Chattanooga leadership and the trustees of our local foundations for investing early in this project and providing the matching funds that unlocked a special National Park Service funding initiative that you will hear more about in a moment from Superintendent Brad Bennett. As the Open the Gateway site plan was developed, the Daughters of the American Revolution stepped up with a grant to support the installment of an interpretive display to orient people for the first time to the recreational opportunities and give a glimpse into the many facets of Moccasin Bend's history and culture as they arrive. Thank you to the representatives of the Chickamauga chapter who are here with us today. Between commitments from the National Park Service, the City of Chattanooga, and local individuals, foundations, and organizations, I am thrilled to announce that we introduced the public phase of the Open the Gateway campaign with nearly 90% of the $1.1 million project costs identified. National Park Partners established a goal of raising $250,000 through this campaign, and I am very happy to share that we've secured gifts and pledges totaling $125,000, or half that goal, in the form of a challenge from our leading donors. That means as we raise the remaining $125,000, every gift we receive from the community will be matched dollar for dollar until we've reached our goal and fulfilled our promise to the National Park Service to meet them halfway towards opening the gateway. So if you love the outdoors and your national parks, open the gateway. If you are a history buff or fascinated by archaeology, open the gateway. If you want to promote social justice and telling an inclusive story, open the gateway. This will truly be a Chattanooga project through and through. Your gift will be matched again and again, and we get there together as we've done time and time before. We've arrived at a pivotal moment in the history of Moccasin Bend, a moment for Chattanooga to reflect on the past, invest in the present, and take pride in the future of making a difference that will last forever.
Well, thank you, Tricia, and good morning, everyone, and welcome again to Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park and to Moccasin Bend National Archaeological District. 5 years ago, with Congressman Fleischman and many of you, we stood on this very field to begin the public planning process, during which we reached out to the 23 federally recognized American Indian tribes who hold deep ancestral ties to this landscape. And over a 2-year period, we held meetings not only here in the park, but over in North Shore. And through that public comment period, gathered many ideas on the future of Moccasin Bend. 2 years later, that public planning process resulted in this collective vision for the development of future facilities and trails to help visitors explore this landscape and to learn more about the stories. That same year, in 2017, we did indeed successfully apply for the Centennial Challenge Grant, federal legislation that allowed federal funds to be matched by an equal amount of private donations. And the Friends of Moccasin Bend were able to step up to that challenge, and that initial grant allowed us to complete the design work for this first implementation project from this plan, involving development of this gateway site, restrooms, a parking lot, a wheelchair accessible pathway, and right here, a pavilion where National Park Service interpretive rangers, tribal partners, and others can continue to share the legacy and heritage of this place with local residents and visitors alike. And we are now on the verge of securing a second Centennial grant to allow us to move forward with the construction of this front porch of Moccasin Bend for the community. None of this would have been possible without tribal involvement, without the cooperation of local, state, and federal government partners, and from the passion and dedication of park supporters like you. Speaking of park supporters, our final speaker this morning needs no introduction to this group. He wrote and passed that federal legislation which forever protected Moccasin Bend. Please join me in welcoming former Congressman Zach Wamp.
I want to pay tribute to Senator Alexander and Congressman Fleischman, because when I was on the Interior Appropriations Subcommittee and had the privilege of helping you initiate your dreams for generations of protecting the Bend, one of our greatest challenges at that time was the backlog maintenance of the National Park System. It's literally billions of dollars of unfunded needs throughout the park system. Most people didn't know this, but this summer, probably maybe the largest investment, frankly, in our natural resources in this country in a generation took place with the Great American Outdoors Act, led really by Lamar Alexander. A lot of people get credit, a lot of people deserve credit. The House and the Senate and the President deserve some credit, but Lamar really made this a priority, and it happened. And that really eases up the funding constraints so that we can move forward with some capital needs that will allow us to develop Moccasin Bend and other very important investments across the country. So thank you, Congressman Fleischman, for not just being here today, but for continuing this. We share a lot. You and I share a legacy of Oak Ridge and the technology corridor and many other things that you've continued. I want to thank you for that. You know, I have to reflect whenever I'm asked to speak, which is not often, on where we are, because COVID has been awful in many ways, but it's like a double-edged sword. In some ways, it causes us to really reprioritize who we are and what we are. You know, for instance, I walk every morning in my neighborhood out in Lookout Valley. Before COVID, there might have been 10 or 12 people walking in the morning, and now there's 50. And before COVID, people would walk right past each other, and now they stop and talk. And they actually ask each other about their families and learn each other's names. You see that everywhere. Nobody was playing pickleball before that, and now there's 10 or 12 people playing pickleball every day. And what is it? It's outdoors, number one, and it's actually us slowing down to figure out who we are. So in a way, I think God's getting our attention here, and that brings me to Moccasin Bend, because this is an important moment for us to take another big step. This has been going on since before I was born. I'll be 63 in 2 weeks, and this effort started before I was born. So it's generational. That's why it's important that there's people that carry it on. But just since the last time we met, right there, Horrendous and Jimmy White are doing a massive development right there at the Alston site. We just announced last week that there's a new interchange coming on 26th Street down in the Wheelan site, which is going to open up the whole south side. The river part goes all the way to St. Elmo, right through these sites on that side of the river. And I am so glad today that economic development didn't take the Bend years ago, because economic development's taking everything else. And rightly so. Progress is great. But we have actually set this aside. Tricia, the word forever is perfect. Perfect. Because this is forever. This actually transcends each of our lives. It goes on. It is a legacy like no other. I told one of your board members as we walked down here, I have a boat, we have a boat right over there, parked right over there. 2 weeks ago, we took the boat down to the gorge just to float. You can float in the Tennessee River Gorge just right around Moccasin Bend, just a few miles down below Baylor, and not see a house or any building at all except trees. The water's 150 feet deep, and it's still very clean. It's amazing, really. There's nothing like that in the eastern United States. How important is this land? It's that important. How important is the history that's happened here? It's that important. This is so necessary that we take every step we can. Before politics got a bad reputation, politics, Chuck, was a noble profession. F.S. Oliver said in his poem, "With all the temptations and degradations that beset it, politics is still the noblest profession that any man can choose." Now, I know that almost makes you laugh today because it's such a food fight and it's very tribal. But politics on its best day is the art of the possible. You've heard that said. This process is the art of the possible. What is possible? The Forever Moccasin Bend campaign, the pavilion now, the rest of this site next, get the firing range off the bend, and thank you city and county and law enforcement for cooperating, because the non-conforming uses must be removed at the earliest possible time so that this roughly 1,000 acres can be preserved forever. Young people can learn, archaeologists can take those next steps, we can all be better for it, and what a location for that. It keeps Chattanooga, so that we don't become any other place but Chattanooga. This is who we are. Moccasin Bend is our history, it's our heritage, it is our DNA. So what an honor to come and take the next step. This announcement will come for later, but my family is going to make a significant contribution to the Forever Moccasin Bend campaign, because this is not just our legacy, it's all of our legacy.